think we are online now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Academy of Astrology UK. I'm Rod Chan, and today with me is Mandy.
Hi.
Hello, Mandy.
Hello.
Oh, I have to switch this because it go to the YouTube, so I can hear the YouTube. And they're like, oh, what happened here? It's a bit confused, a bit confusing. But it's also about the subject we can talk about today.
Yeah. Expect confusion.
Yeah, expect confusion. Oh, I think most people probably already feel that, I think, because when the aspect come in. Yeah. Okay. So today, what are we going to do today? Before we start, we just talking about, we're going to talk about, because the Venus going to changing sign tonight in UK time around 10 p.m. around that time. Venus will move from Libra to Scorpio. And then I think sometime next week, Mars will change sign too. So this is kind of interesting. So how about we focus first on Venus in Scorpio, because it's kind of funny, because especially, especially when you're talking about the few sign, people usually have like a, stigma and something kind of a quite label on it. So Mandy, what's your interpretation of the Venus in Scorpio?
Venus in Scorpio. Well, Venus is traditionally very uncomfortable in the sign of Scorpio. Venus is Scorpio is ruled traditionally by Mars, and Venus is at best ruled by Libra or Taurus, for example. So it's kind of really uncomfortable. It's really Venus in Scorpio is really uncomfortable. But what does it mean? We'll talk a little bit more about it traditionally in a second. But what does it actually mean? Well, it's really kind of marked by when someone has Venus in Scorpio, or when Venus is in Scorpio in the sky, expect some secrecy, some mystery, perhaps. It's in relationships. It's something to do potentially, because it's Mars. It's perhaps competitiveness within relationships, competitive towards women or between women. Interestingly, as I say, Scorpio is Mars ruled. When you think about Mars, you think about competition, you think about sports as well. And at the moment, we have a very Venusian young lady in the UK who has made history by getting into the US final of the US Open final in the tennis.
The young lady, yes.
Yeah, she's very telegenic. She's very sweet. She's very charming, but she gets on the court and she just focuses.
Yeah.
And she's obsessive and she's passionate on that court, and she's in there to win. I think she has Venus in Scorpio, but Venus will be in Scorpio by the time she plays in the final. So that will be interesting to see how that competition between two young women, Venus, and there's a lot at stake, and it's getting a lot of attention. But in terms of generally, it's quite, Venus in Scorpio is intense, it's passionate, it can be possessive, it can be obsessive, it can be compulsive. Venus should really be all about peace and comfort, not about competition and jealousy sometimes, or resentment, or not being able to forgive easily, perhaps, is we might think about with Venus in Scorpio.
I think the very interesting, because it's true, when we think about the Scorpio, this sign, generally, we are not talking about the sun in Scorpio. We're talking about Scorpio. This sign is usually, because it's a fixed sign. I like this idea when you think about the interpretation of a sign, no matter what planet is in. What we think about the first was its quality, and its quality is a fixed sign. And I remember fixed sign, they holding on something. They're usually holding on something. So they are not easy to let go. So there's a four fixed signs. So Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius usually hold something, hold a kind of principle they believe in. And for Scorpio, it's a water sign. So it hold the feeling. That's how they, people usually say they don't let go easily, because it's water sign. It holds something and not easy to let go. So what I think Venus to be honest, it is really depend on people nowadays, depend on what kind of love you like. Some people enjoy that kind of passionate craziness, and now or never, what do we say? It is you either 100% in or you get out of here. So that, I think that is more suitable, let me say that, suitable for like a kind of a Venus in Scorpio's feeling. But if like, suppose, I remember we both have a Venus in air sign. Our Venus is both in Aquarius, right?
In the fixed sign of Aquarius.
Yeah, so we both kind of fine, easy. If you don't like it, it's okay. We can still be friends.
Yeah.
But when we met Venus when you think about that, talking about that with Venus in Scorpio, I don't think it's going on well with them,
No.
So what I think is yeah. So what I think is like a Venus in different side, they deserve, or they looking for different type of expression of their feeling and their love. But when Venus go to Scorpio, it's not good or bad for me. For me, it's not good or bad. It's just a type of way to express their feeling and what they seeking, what they think most important in the relationship.
Yeah, and those feelings run very deep, and the desires run very deep. Venus and Scorpio is very much about desire, and Scorpio itself is very much about desire. So desire in relationship, and sometimes those feelings run so deep that the person having those feelings doesn't particularly, might not even understand where these feelings are coming from or what to do with them. And I think another thing as well in terms of relationships, because it's Venus, of course, the idea of being frightened of getting burned in a relationship. So trust isn't given easily, so they're being careful. Venus in Scorpio is very careful who they trust and what they trust. It's also a little bit naughty. So often it can talk about taboo relationships or secret relationships, things that have to be kept under the radar and
50 Shades.
Yeah. The red room. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that is true. That is true, because usually they Scorpio, this sign usually is mean deeper and hidden. So usually it's something people don't usually see it, or maybe people usually scared of it, and somehow related to taboo, but they hold it. But another things, what I think is, I don't know, am I right or wrong? Please correct me, because I know your specialist is in psychology, and what I think is we all grow up in a different family, different environment, and we all see love in different way. In this case, if Venus is love, Venus sign tell us what is love. Then if I follow this logic, could it be that when Venus in Scorpio, that means if there is no crisis, there is no love. If there is no tension, there is no love. And is that I think if you are comfortable with that, that is fine, I think.
Absolutely. And also that goes to the kind of the end game, really, of what Venus in Scorpio is about. You go that crisis, and it's an opportunity for deep emotional healing. Scorpio can be a very healing sign.
I agree. Yes. Yeah, I think I like what you say, because in my way to see it when you say that, what I understand is, so maybe there's a tension there, or maybe there's a crisis there. But when you understand, when you see it, when you're aware about that crisis is love, or if there's no tension, there's no love. If you're comfortable, it's okay. But if you're not comfortable, maybe this awareness is coming to help you to heal yourself. Why are you always seeking for something? To be honest, that's my personal experience. I don't have Venus in Aquarius, but there's a time 10 years ago, you know the story. I was kind of in love with someone, and but that through that unpleasant relationship, I aware I only attract to the people who couldn't see me, who is not available. And that is a kind of, for me, that is love. Oh, someone join us.
Hey, Sue. Hi, Sue.
Okay,
Hello.
let's continue. Let's Sue adjust herself. Yeah. So what I think is that is kind of things we can put together. And I like it the way you say the healing. You know, the healing is a process that is really interesting. Yeah. So, hello, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, Rod. Hi, Mandy. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, you make it. Yeah.
I made it. Yeah. Sorry.
We're just getting to the end of Venus in Scorpio, although of course Venus in Scorpio has no end. But in terms of talking about it, I don't know whether you want to say anything. You probably haven't heard what we said so far, but I don't know whether you want to add anything.
A word of what you said so far. No, I haven't. No, I don't know what you've said. I mean, just a couple of things I want to say really about Venus and Scorpio, because it's not a very natural place for Venus. I'm sure you've said all this already. You know, because Venus rules Libra, which is completely different from a Scorpio. But, you know, Venus and Scorpio gets super passionate, usually. And can be, you know, just sort of, you know, very, very emotionally involved in whatever it is that they get involved in doing, whether that's relationship with other persons, or whether it's just enthusiasm for any kind of task that they're doing. You know, there's a huge intensity of Venus in Scorpio. You know, when you've got that passing through, you know, for a little while, as we have at the moment, then what we've got is more passion, more connection, more reaching with other people, more connecting, all sorts of stuff, right? And it just gives you a sense of life is not really very casual anymore. If Venus is in Scorpio, the tendency is to have kind of intense connections with people, or connections with even with your life, your own life. You just have a lot of strong feelings about things. I mean, sure, you've said these things already, Mandy and Rob, but I don't know what you've said, so it's good for me to know.
The more interesting things is the this is going to happen tonight, but toward the end of next week, Mars is going to move into Libra.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
It's a very interesting situation, because that's very quickly. I think that you probably have lots of things to say, to think about it. So, Mandy, how about you start with Mars in Libra?
Yeah, Mars in Libra. As I say, Venus belongs in Libra and Mars belongs in Scorpio. So it's almost they're in each other's houses, like house sitting for each other. Yeah. You know, so but when Mars is in Libra, it's asking that you assert yourself in a fair and a balanced way, you know, and to weigh up all the options and try and make a decision. You know, it can be passive aggressive potentially. It can be the idea of the charm offensive, because you know Libras have got that certain charm, and the offensive comes from obviously Mars, of that assertiveness. You know, I guess you're best to use that in terms of fighting for injustices, fighting for fairness, thinking about you know, thinking about trying to sort out frictions. We talked about how Venus in Scorpio almost needs and likes that friction, that frisson. You know, and we might see something similar with Mars in Libra, but with Mars in Libra, it's about sorting that out and finding the balance and doing it fair and harmony and peaceful, which isn't too easy to achieve with that placement, is it?
Yeah. No, that doesn't actually make it easy, does it? Because Mars naturally rules Aries, which is the opposite sign. So Mars can be extremely self-centered and getting on with it and doing your own thing and forging the way and all of that stuff. But when Mars gets into Libra, it kind of calms it all down and slows it down a bit, you know. Mars in Libra has to find a more balanced way, as Mandy says, more balanced way of manifesting itself. So it's like, you know, whereas perhaps 6 months ago you might have had an argument with a friend, now you're going to try and find a reasonable solution to things, generally speaking. You know, try to talk it through, work it out if you can. I mean, you can't always, of course.
Compromise.
Compromise, yes.
Fairness. Mars in Libra is so fair.
Diplomacy.
Yes.
It tries. It tries to do. Yeah.
It is very interesting. But these two planets, they swap their house, they swap their sign. I share Marcus in that here because it's in traditional way, he will have a lot of things to talk about it. But today we have our modern version about, because we all know this called mutual reception for us. So Can we go a little bit about what does mutual reception mean?
Good point. It just means that two planets cross over each other's signs, basically. So it's like Mars is happy in Scorpio because it's it's just a happy place for it to be.
Yes.
Venus is happy in Libra because it rules Libra. So, but now they're in each other's signs, and it's like, it just means there's always been a bit of a rivalry going on between Mars and Venus anyway, right? So in terms of your personal experience of them, you know, Mars is you go out and get, and Venus is you're open to receive, sort of thing. And it's like now they've reversed their positions. So it's almost like Venus has got a bit more of go out and get, and Mars has got a bit more openness to receive, and that's kind of a bit alien for both of them. So it's like they're an interesting combination. That's what mutual reception is. Yeah. Do you want to add anything, Mandy?
Yep.
Just saying, I guess in as these are going into the sky at the moment, because I mean what we said is quite relevant to chart placement, but also you know, in the sky transiting, we've got Venus just about to go in Scorpio, and then later a few days time Mars in Libra. And it kind of depends on where it goes in your chart. So if you have either one of them actually making a strong aspect to one of your planets or angles in your chart, then that will probably take precedence in terms of sort of, you know, expressing it or feeling it or experiencing it. Absolutely right. So it depends on, so mostly whether you're a Martian kind of person or a Venusian kind of person, or whether you have both in your birth chart, right?
Yeah, it is very interesting because when I still remember when I was beginner, and when people tell me about a mutual reception, I was like, is that good or bad? Because we usually take about a sign in its ruler is good, and sign is in its exaltation is good, or sign is in its full detriment is bad. But in this case, a mutual reception, would you consider good or bad? I know for modern astrologer, maybe it's more complicated than that.
I would say that they're in each of the signs. They're not comfortable in the signs they're going to move into. Venus and Mars aren't at the moment. They're in each of the signs. So I think to resolve that, they've got to kind of learn to work together. So it's quite a Venusian, actually. That, you know, the solution is quite a Venusian solution. They've got to learn to work together. They've got to help each other. I think when signs sort of, you know, are in each of the signs in mutual reception, and it's not you know, they're not comfortable, then they need help. Anything in detriment and fall needs help, doesn't it, from other things in the chart or outward influence.
Or that they might create quite a sparky war between them, in a sense, you know, because Mars in Libra is like, you know, wanting to include you in everything that they do. You want to be inclusive and connected with other people, just be kind of quite pleasant and so on and so on. He's a little alien to Mars. Venus, you know, is not quite such a femme fatale as Venus in Scorpio can indicate, right? So Venus is a bit more kind of come on and get me, or something like that. It's that kind of energy. So it's like Mars and Venus can sometimes be slightly sparky with each other. So it's actually, you know, in terms of sort of humanity, that sometimes indicates lots of good sex.
Wow, it's Friday night.
Sexual charisma, definitely.
It could be this. Yeah. This is kind of a very kind of intimacy and very passionate. I think. Yeah, kind of passionate. Symbolic meaning. I think. I don't know if Marcus what he's going to say. You guys.
And also Libra. Libra potentially at best could probably smooth over the sort of rough edges of Mars and civilize Mars a little bit, and make Mars sort of think about the person, the other side or the other perspective of things.
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah, whereas Mars would normally be the go out and get kind of engine of the chart, one of the things in the chart. You know, Venus would be open to receiving, receptive, and so on. And so on. They're kind of reversing positions, which is really alien for both of them. So it's quite an interesting thing because they're both finding their feet in signs that are more suited to the other planet themselves. So it's like, you know, they're finding their way through. So in practice, for you watching, if you have any of these signs in any of your planets, you know, you'll experience, you know, an emphasis on the Scorpio side of yourself or the Libra side of yourself. You know, whichever side it actually happened to hit, it might just be connected with something of the same air sign, like an air sign for Libra or a water sign for Scorpio, depending on what you've got in your own birth charts. I can't ask you all what you've all got, but whatever.
But okay, let's just use the last maybe 2 minutes about this, and we will move to next topic. But what our audience, what our friends should do when they face in terms of a relationship or friendship or social life, what's the key things to remember for, you know, next month during this time, during this Mars in Libra and Venus in Scorpio time?
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe one of the things they might connect with is this sense of it's a sense of something to do with Libra, which is to do with sometimes meeting with a person or getting involved more deeply with a person. She really feels a little bit kind of fated, almost as if it feels like the right thing to be doing. You're following the sort of path you may not see very clearly where you're going. You have a sense that something is going to connect you with another person, right? With the Scorpio, that's the Libra side of things. The Scorpionic side of things, you know, suggests you need to be a little careful, you know, what you're getting involved in, because you can't get carried away by passions. You be a bit careful here.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody want to add anything,
Mandy?
Yeah, very, very, very similar. That intensity, that idea of, you know, be careful where you put your trust. Be careful where you put your trust. Although don't be ruled by suspicion, you know, getting that balance, because Venus in any sign is still looking for balance, right?
Yes.
You know, the desires are running deep, you know, just take a step back and think. And you said earlier on, Rod, at the beginning, that it's a very Venus is in Scorpio, is a very fixed sign, an emotionally fixed sign. What happens now might be something you're stuck with or you can't let go of later down the line. So think carefully, I think, really.
Yeah.
About where you put your loyalty and where you put your emotional energy in particular.
Yeah, no, that's actually really important.
Yeah.
That's something to.
And
what Mandy's saying, definitely, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I'd add, be careful who you pick a fight with as well.
Oh yes. Try to avoid it.
Yeah.
Okay, the next things I would suggest is, because last week me and Sue would talk about a little bit about this Sun opposite Neptune, and it is happening now because it's approaching. It's going to be exact soon. So I think that the time exact probably is also the same time. No. Yes, it's about the time also the Mars going to move into Libra. Okay, this Sun opposite Neptune I think because it's approaching at this moment. So have anyone feel like you, any one of you feel that experience that feeling about, Sun opposite Neptune?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's worth just running quickly over what Sun opposite Neptune is about, really. Because in astrology, the Sun is yourself, isn't it?
Yes.
Yourself, your sense of who you really are, what person you are deep down, right? And when Neptune is aspecting it, especially by opposition, it kind of blows it all sideways. It's all vague. If I'm doing this with my hands, because it's like Venus connecting with Sun is like it can bring you kind of, if nothing else, a certain amount of confusion about who you really are and where you're really going, right? You may, if you feel at all that you're feeling a little bit unclear about what your future direction is, or what you want to develop in yourself, or you're feeling a great uplifting of spiritual power, which you might experience as well. There's many different ways to experience this. It would depend if it connects particularly with your birth chart, of course, as well. Yeah.
Mandy, anything you're going to edit on this opposition?
Yeah, I mean, the Sun is about your vitality, isn't it, as well? Where the Sun is in your chart. Obviously, this is a moving transit, but the Sun is about one's vitality and sort of energy, and it's in Virgo as well. And Virgo, the Sun will be in Virgo, and Virgo is very much about health as well. Neptune can actually make things, I don't feel quite right, but a bit vague, a bit woolly. I'm not quite sure what's wrong with me. So depending again where it falls in the chart, so potentially if it falls in, if either in fall in the 6th house or the 12th house, it might be worth just sort of, checking your health, making sure you're okay.
Yes.
You might have vague symptoms, you don't know what they are. Not to worry anyone at all, but rest and relaxation is important, but it's also I think really important to change the subject about creativity and imagination. And Roger, you've had an experience of that, haven't you?
Yes, it's interesting because we just talked about that for last couple of days. Since last weekend, I went down to South Coast to take a lot of photo. I like stargazing and astrophotography.
Thing.
Yeah, so that's really Neptunian because I stay up all night. So during the daytime, I act like a zombie, and I don't know where I am. I couldn't thinking straight. So I was like, and if anyone talk to me, I was like, yeah, fine. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like what happened? I never do that. I usually don't forget my key. Today, when I went out, I left my key at home. It happened now. So, but in one way, this is the kind of I'm kind of in a cloud. I'm not sure where I am. I'm tired. In another way, yes, that's art, because I connected with the sky with a photograph. I'm not very artist person, to be honest. I'm not good in painting or drawing. But when I take in the star photo, I was just like I was totally in there. And I totally lost myself. I think that's the Sun opposite Neptune. I lost myself in the stargazing.
Yeah, that's so interesting because Neptune has to do with film and photography, images, all of those kinds of ideas. So, and it also has to do with a certain amount of confusion. So it's not surprising that you forgot your key. So let me say to all of you, be careful during the period that Sun is opposite Neptune exactly. Because even particularly if it affects your chart, but be careful with your keys and with your pass or whatever it is you need to take out with you when you go.
To be honest, it never happened to me. To be honest,
because these things are about your identity, aren't they? I mean, I went for a walk in the park yesterday afternoon, my husband, and on the way back, we found a wallet lying on the floor that had obviously fallen out of someone's pocket, and then it was this person's bank cards.
Wow.
There was a driving license and their proof that they've had their double vaccines for the coronavirus. I mean, vaccinations and stuff with viruses is very much sort of Neptunian. That's how like Sue's saying, losing things.
Yes.
Fortunately, my husband and I are honest. we're not going to go and use the cards or spend the cash. Unfortunately, there was an address on the driving license, so we were able to. We cut the cards up, so just in case they do end up in the wrong hands, they couldn't be used, because I guess the person would have cancelled the cards.
Yeah.
And they'd lost them, and just pop it in the post. So hopefully they'll get their things back.
Okay.
That's extremely grateful for that. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing, because Neptune and Sun do have to do with doing things unconsciously, not fully awareness. That's how somebody may have just lost that wallet, just dropped out of their pocket. Or somebody might kind of lose an address or lose something quite important, even something in the house, you might lose.
Yeah.
So be careful where you're putting things and what you're putting down, because you could actually kind of forget and lose your focus.
I think so.
Your clarity.
Yeah, I think double check is very important. You know why I forget my key today? Because I just touched my pocket, and I touched the coin. I thought it was key, So I hardly have a coin at this moment. You just you use the contact list. But when I touch it, it's like, oh, I have key. I'm very happy. I just go in now. And when I come back, I put, where's my key? It's coin. It's not a key.
Oh, no.
That is a confusion. That is very interesting.
Yeah.
It's really easy to do that, Rob. To think something is not what it seems to be.
Yes, that's the Neptune.
It's very Neptune.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really important, however, not to give Neptune a completely bad press, because actually Neptune is very creative and imaginative. It can be a source of inspiration both for your photographs, Rod, taking good ones, or for an artist or a singer or somebody in the theatre. It's just very nice energy to kind of find a way to express what you want to say. It's a planet that expresses yourself in some way, especially when it's opposite the sun.
Also, compassion and empathy and kindness, charity, all those things are sort of good things to put yourself forward for, or to think about. And good advice, Sue.
Right, before we finish today, I really want to have my some Neptune moment. So I want to share photo with you. This is I just work on this afternoon, and some colleague text me talking about what should we do for this and that. I was totally ignore them. I say, you didn't reply my message, because I say I was totally in another world, enchanted. So this is what I'm going to show you. What I'm doing this afternoon.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
It's the Milky Way. It's wonderful.
Yeah, the Milky Way.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Is that a long exposure?
Yeah, and the Milky Way arch. I haven't posted this photo yet.
That's gorgeous, Rod.
Yeah, that's my Sun Neptune moment,
And Rod, you've got the sunset. You've got the sunset, haven't you? You can just see the sunset on the horizon.
No, this is not sunset yet.
Oh, this is filter.
Yeah, just filter. Yes.
Okay, well, it looks like the sunset.
Yeah, it does.
That's a wonderful picture, and it's so sharp and clear.
Yeah, that's my Sun Neptune.
A magazine somewhere.
yeah, and later we're going to have a Neptune moment too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I have to have a glass of wine.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right, thanks everyone to join us today, and don't forget next week we're going to do another live stream podcast, and I hope Marcus will join us too. Okay, so bye.
Thank you, Rod.